All right, we are officially live here on this Friday evening. It feels weird to be on here on a Friday at 6 p.m. Eastern time. I literally just got back from the mountains. My son just got engaged. A lot has been going on over the weekend, or over the week, I should say. It's not the weekend, it's just the weekend right now. It feels like it should be a Sunday because, I was traveling back and I'm like, man, it feels like the weekend, but it's not. So it's Friday. The reason why we're doing this call, a couple different reasons. Number one, we are approaching 2023, right? We are days away from 2023. It's exciting, but there's also some things I want to discuss about Etsy and sales growth and the things that I feel are super important moving into 2023. And we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about why it's important to focus on this one thing I'm going to share with you guys, but I'm also going to be sharing like what we need to do in order to make this one thing happen. The other thing that I'm going to be doing here, because we are going to be kicking off what we're calling our 7-day Cha-Ching challenge, which is January 4th. And that is going to be our first live class that we're doing in 2023. And that is all about really building out your shop. So this way here, it is ready and optimized to get sales. And the goal of this 7-day Cha-Ching challenge is to build everything out in a 7-day period. And then from there, have a 7-day sales cycle and hopefully get that Cha-Ching sound to ring on your phone. And that's really what we're going to be doing. So this is also going to serve as a Q&A. I've received a lot of questions about the 7-day Cha-Ching challenge. If you have not yet heard of the 7-day Cha-Ching challenge and you wanted more information, we will go ahead and put a little link here. I'll put it up in the bottom so you guys can see it. If you guys want to go there right now, there are discounts on the tickets right now. And that is going to be through tonight at midnight Eastern time. So right now we're filming this on December 30th at 6 p.m. Eastern time. And tonight at midnight Eastern time, we are going to be still having tickets available, but the price is going to be our regular price. So it's going to be increasing, but there is still time if you're on here live or if you're watching this afterwards, but it's before midnight. There's still time to go ahead and grab a ticket if you're interested in joining us. And we'll be here to answer any questions that you guys have while we're on here. So with that all being said, where do you want to start, Chris? We got a lot to cover.
Well, so first,
Etsy sales.
First things first, Scott, congrats. I know your favorite son just got engaged. So I know you guys are extremely happy about that. And I think everybody that's in the chat with us should give you at least a little bit of a round of applause for raising an all-around good dude who just had a great moment in his life. And yeah, so let's start with that. Number two, we just are getting out of the holiday season. And Scott, you said a couple minutes ago, we are days away. I think we can safely say day away.
Yeah.
At this point, I mean, we're talking, if you're here with us live, it's 6 p.m. Eastern. One of our friends here with us live on YouTube said it's already 1 a.m. here in South Africa. And so, we are getting towards the end of the year. And I think one of the things that everybody needs to really start to understand is what's going to be working moving forward. What can we do to grow in 2023? And it's something, Scott, that I think not enough people think about up front. Right. We tend to save our New Year's resolution or like set our goals on January 1st. And we don't really think about it before then. And so what I'd like to do is, as we're working our way through this tonight, if you guys are hanging out with us live, or if you're listening to this after the fact, right, grab a pen and paper and just jot down the things that you can apply to your business and see how you can apply them to your goals for 2023 and beyond. That's the big reason that we're doing this Q&A at 6 o'clock on a Friday night, because we want you guys to be able to start off 2023 on the right foot. With that, Scott, I know you have a few things pre-programmed that we have, but the other thing I'd like to let everybody know is if you have any questions, ask them along the way. Obviously, if you're listening to this on the podcast or you're listening to this after the fact, you can't do that. But if you're on here with us live and you have a question about 2023, what that's going to look like, make sure to ask us in the chat. We're going to try to cover as many of those as we can as well.
Yeah. And like you said, Chris, like we are going to be airing this on the podcast. So this will be aired probably a week later. So I will probably start and have a clean start here rather than explaining all of this stuff. So people that are here live are understanding it, but the people on the podcast could really care less because they're not here live. But this call tonight is for you if you are here live, because we are literally, like Chris said, not even days, like a day and a half away from January 1st, 2023. And we wanted to get on here, discuss what it looks like, what we really feel strongly about. Like there's one major thing that we all should be focusing on. And you should write this down. As soon as I tell you, you should write it down. Then I'm going to explain why it's important. And then I'm going to explain how to do it. There's actually 3 steps to this process. But I really just wanted to jump on here. Chris wanted to jump on here and really get you guys fired up for 2023 and what's about to happen. Because if you take this and run with it, sky's the limit. The other thing is we are getting ready to kick off 2023 with our first live class. Now, I say live, it's a hybrid, which means that every day we're going to have a lesson that's going to be published. But then we're going to do some live Q&A during and after. So this way here, we're going to be helping these students along the way. But the main goal here of our 7-day Cha-Ching challenge is really to get people up to speed, get people fully optimized, and get people some sales and get that started as soon as possible. So we'll answer any Q&A that we have for that here in a little bit. If you have anything along the way, drop it in the comments. But I want to know in the comments, who is fired up for 2023? I want to know in the comments who is fired up and ready to kick off 2023 with a bang. And that's really what I want to know. Drop it in the comments. Let's get this thing rocking right now. And I can see a whole bunch of people saying, yes, I'm pumped, ready. All right. Awesome. And someone had just asked a quick question. I'll answer it real quick. What time are you starting on the 4th? We're going to be dripping out these lessons. I say dripping out, publishing them at about 9 a.m. Eastern is when they're going to be published. So that way they're live. Whoever wants to, view them and go through them in the morning can, or if you have to go, and watch them at the end of the day, you can. But we'll talk more about that here in a little bit. All right. So with that being said, Chris, are we ready to rock and roll?
Oh, we're getting a ton of people saying, glad to start the new year ready. Me. And we're also getting some cha-chings in the chat.
Love it.
Which I absolutely love. Jude says, I'm fired up. I'm going to lose my 34-year career in February 2023. So I'm looking forward to starting a new chapter. Jude, I know that can be a scary thing, right? You are losing a career that you have had as long as I have been alive. I know that doesn't sound like that is a terrifying prospect, but the good news is it sounds like you are prepared. It sounds like it's not completely out of the blue. And it sounds like you have at least a little bit of runway coming into this. And so if you have any questions, make sure to ask us, because we want to make sure you're starting this off on the right foot, just like everybody else here with us in the chat. Scott, I know you have some things pre-programmed. What is the first kind of thing that we have in terms of Etsy sales in 2023 and how to grow them?
Yeah, no, it's a great setup. And really what we're going to be talking about here, like I said, is Etsy sales growth in 2023. And I'm going to give it to you guys like right now. All right. Right now, like what do we need to be focusing on? What is going to make 2023 on Etsy? What is going to make it really, really work and also build a crazy amount of momentum? And what I'm about to share with you, you might say to yourself, wait a minute here, Scott, that's obvious. But, that's just not really something that is additional to what we would already know. Well, let me share it with you and we can go ahead and talk through it. The number one thing, I want you guys to write this down. All right. If you have a pen, paper, I want you to start writing this stuff down. And I want you at the top of your piece of paper, I want you to write in all caps, focus on getting sales. That's what I want you to write. That is the main focus. And you might be saying, well, Scott, duh, of course that is. Like, yes, I want to get sales. But I want you to focus on that because so much more happens when you get sales. Let me walk you through it. There's actually 5 things that will happen if you focus on getting sales and you start to get sales. So let me kick it off with number one. And this is one I don't hear hardly anyone talking about. And that is, if we get sales, we are going to start ranking for keywords that we are trying to rank for. Let me say that one more time, and you write this one down. Okay. This will, number one, this is the number one reason why we want to get sales. It's going to help our SEO. It's going to help our search engine optimization. It's going to help us get ranked. If you haven't heard, but Etsy really wants you to get sales, and it's going to reward you for getting sales. But there is a little bit of a problem. The reason why people don't really rank, it isn't usually because of the SEO, to be quite honest with you. It has to do with you have not found products and keywords that are being searched for. And if you're not doing that, then it doesn't matter. You're not going to really be able to get sales. So if we're doing the proper work, which I'm going to give you guys the 3 steps in our strategy, the only 3 things that we're really focusing on. All right. But the number one thing we want to focus on in getting sales, and the reason why, is because SEO, search engine optimization. As long as we've done the work up front to figure out, are these products that we're launching, are they being searched for? Are these keywords even being searched for? That's going to help us get ranked. Why? Because when we get a sale or multiple sales, what's going to happen is Etsy's going to look at that and go, wait a minute, there's people buying this. So even if there's other people trying to rank for it, but they're not getting sales, you're going to rank out, you're going to outperform them because Etsy wants sales. Etsy will reward the listing that's getting sales. I actually did a training about a month and a half ago, maybe 2 months ago, where I showed an example of, there was 3 listings and they were all getting like 30, 40 sales a month. And their SEO was terrible. They weren't even targeting keywords. So that proved my point that the reason why they were outranking others is because they were getting traffic and they were getting sales. They were converting to sales. So again, all we're doing now is focusing on getting sales. I'll get to how to get the sales here in a minute, but this is why sales are number one. Okay. The second reason is we are going to be building a customer email list, and we're going to be able to get repeat sales. So what happens now? We get a customer, they buy something. They're now in our ecosystem of Etsy. Now, if you guys don't know this, but there is an integration with Aweber that you can now take a customer's email and import it into Aweber. And yes, you have to have them double confirm and things like that, but you still have the opportunity to get those people on your email list. And now that we have them on our email list, we can do a little bit of email marketing. And what are we going to do? We're going to drive more sales. How? We're going to email them. All right. So that's the other reason why a sale. Okay. Just think about one sale also helps the ranking, also helps us build our email list, which also will then drive additional sales. Okay. So that's just 2. So number 1, it helps us with our SEO, helps us get ranked because that's what Etsy wants. They want sales velocity. Number 2, it helps us build our email list, which then will also drive additional sales. Chris, you were going to say something before I keep on rolling here, because I'm on a roll here.
Well, you know I love this point, and it sounds reductive to say you want to focus on getting sales to get more sales, right? And I think one of the biggest things that people miss is the job of Etsy is to be a search engine, right?
Yeah.
Just like Google's job is to show you the result that most closely answers your question. Yes, when you're Googling something, it's a question, even though if it's not in the Jeopardy form of a question with a question mark, right?
Right.
If you type in cups or tablespoons in a cup, they know that you mean how many tablespoons in a cup, right? Google's goal is to give you the correct answer to that question. Etsy's goal when you search for something is to show you the product that you are most likely to buy. Mm-hmm. Something you just touched on here, Scott. You talked about conversions and conversion rate. And this is something I think that many people overlook in the SEO game. And I don't think this point can be understated, right? If you have the world's most SEO optimized listing, right? We put all the best keywords, all the stuff in there. And when somebody comes to the listing, they don't buy. Guess who doesn't get another chance? You. Because my listing, even though I don't have all of the perfect keywords, all of the perfect tags, all of those kinds of things, if somebody comes and they buy, Etsy goes, well, that's what they were looking for. So I'm going to show him again, rather than relying on the words in the description, because it clearly wasn't what that person was looking for. And when we can do that, when we can focus on sales, it makes everything else easier. We don't have to worry about perfectly dialing in titles, perfectly dialing in tags, perfectly dialing in images. Yes, we should spend time on those things, but they don't have to be the main focus of our day. We can spend that extra time focusing on the other things that drive sales, which we'll talk about here in a minute. So I'm just going to leave that for later, but we can free up that time by making sure that our listings are converting, that we're creating products that people actually want to buy. If we're not doing that, then nothing else we do really matters.
Yeah, no, love it. Love it. So, okay, let's move on. All right. Again, guys, I've got more to cover here, but I really, is this making sense? If you guys are listening to this on the podcast, I want you guys to just nod your head. Yes, this is making sense. If you're here live, definitely put it in the comments. Let us know, is this making sense? All right. Remember, it's so critical that you think along the lines of, what does Etsy want? They want sales, right? And to a lot of people, it's like, well, duh, but they don't think about it like that's what's going to drive additional sales. That's what's going to drive future sales. That's what's going to drive rankings. That's what's going to fuel everything within your business, okay, is sales velocity, all right? And there's a lot more that comes with it. So let me dig in here, okay? So the third thing that's going to happen when you focus on getting sales and you start to get sales is, number 3, is coupons are going to be sent to those buyers internally. Okay. Now, yes, we got to set it up. And inside of the 7-day Cha-Ching challenge that we're going to be teaching, we're going to show all the internal marketing, all of the internal triggers, all of those types of things. But just understand this. We can set up a code to get dispatched that says, hey, that person just bought. Let's say, hey, thank you. Appreciate you. Here's 10%. Go buy something else. Right. But now, again, we need to have more products, and we will, obviously get more things for them to buy is the thing that we want to keep doing. That's why we talk about focusing on a niche and building out a product line and all that stuff, which we're not going to get into all of that. But that just makes sense, right? The more products we have available, the more opportunities we can sell them something and get more sales. Okay. So coupons are going to automatically get sent once that sale is made. So once again, going back to the beginning, why are we focusing on sales? Well, the 2 things I just shared with you, but the third one is because it's going to automatically trigger a coupon to get that person to buy something else. Now, this is not going to work if you don't have anything else for them to sell, or, you can't sell them anything that you don't have, right? So again, if you are not focusing on a niche that you can offer 3 to 5 different products, and hopefully a lot more than that, but at least 3 to 5, you should probably rethink it. And moving into 2023, I think it's going to be even more important for us to be focusing on serving a niche. Okay. So that's the third thing. The fourth thing, another very important reason why sales are huge. We're going to be able to get more reviews. Now, why are reviews important? Do reviews help us rank? Not necessarily, although they do. Here's what I mean. People think that, oh, if I get reviews, I'm going to get ranked higher just because I got the review. No, wrong. The reason why a review will help you get ranked is because it's going to help your other buyers, the ones that haven't purchased yet, it's going to convert them into a sale. If you didn't have those reviews, that person might go, I don't know if I really want to buy from these people because I don't know them. I don't see anybody else that's bought anything, or I don't see any other reviews. Nah, I think I'm going to go look for it somewhere else. A review is a conversion mechanism, which is what? It's a sale. We want to convert to a sale. Why? Well, we just covered it. It's going to help our SEO with ranking. It's going to build a customer email list. It's going to trigger a coupon to get sent out to buy something else. So the review is a conversion mechanism. So that's why we want those reviews. Really, really important. And then the 5th reason that we want to get sales and focus on sales is because it seasons our Etsy shop. It gets those reviews, but it also gives us a better quality score within Etsy. It's going to give us a star seller's badge because we're going to be doing all of those things right. We're going to be delivering it on time. We're going to be communicating with our customers. We're going to be getting good feedback. and all of that stuff seasons the account. So if we focus on sales, those sales are going to do everything that I just talked about. And consistently over time, we season the account with 100 sales, 500 sales, 1,000 sales. And then what happens is Etsy starts to say, you know what? This shop is doing a really good job. We should probably promote them higher in the search when they launch new products. So you see what happens there? And then the momentum starts to build. Okay. So that's why focusing on getting sales is super, super important. Okay. Now, Chris, before we get into the 3-step strategy of how to get sales, is there any questions? And in the comments, if you guys do have any questions, drop them in there. But let me just also say this. Everything that we're talking about right here, we're going to be going into depth is really, as far as like setting all of these up inside of the 7-day Cha-Ching challenge. Like that's a lot of the framework is like building this thing so it's a machine in a sense. So it feeds the machine, right? And that's really what we're going to be helping people with the 7-day Cha-Ching challenge. So if you're listening to this or watching this and you still want to get in on that, if it's not January 4th, if you're watching this live, there's still going to be an opportunity for you to join, and you can head on over to brandcreators.com/sales and you can do so. And we're going to answer some questions on anything that anyone has around that here soon as well. So Chris, any questions on that so far?
Yeah, two questions on the sales and promotion thing, plus one shout out, Scott. I don't know if you saw it. I wanted to give our buddy Werner a shout out. He's hanging out with us on YouTube live right now. He said, I've been implementing what you guys are talking about. And guess what? I just got Cha-Ching number 43. So if you guys are hanging out with us on YouTube, make sure to give Werner a pat on the back. Scott, we had a question. You said you're talking about sending the follow-up offers out, right? Mm-hmm. So setting it up so that when somebody buys from you, they get a 10% discount or something like that.
Sure.
Is there anything special we need to do in terms of margin? So somebody had said, I'm planning on running sales to my shop regularly and also planning to send a 10% discount code to previous customers, right? With this, is there a specific margin that I should be looking for products? To me, the answer is no, because you should already have more than enough margin built in, right? And if we're worried about that 10% eating into our margin, we probably didn't set the products up right to begin with. But is there anything special that we need to think about when we're setting these up? Like, do these coupons stack on top of each other? Can they stack a 10% with a 20% that they found? Like, do we have any of that worry inside of the Etsy platform? Or is it just they use it and as long as you make more than 10% on your product, you're good to go?
Yeah, well, I think that, but I also think, and this is again where a lot of people, they don't understand that part of your first batch of sales is a marketing expense. Like, I don't look at it like, oh, if I give 10%, I'm cutting into my margins. I'm looking at how do I season my account so I can have a really high authoritative shop. So Etsy will then reward me. So I'm willing to break even, okay? And get those sales, get the sales velocity going so everything else happens. I get the reviews, which is going to, in the future, help me convert to sales, right? It's going to help my SEO right out of the gate. So I'm going to start getting more reach, more customers coming in the door, right? I'm going to be able to build that email customer list that I can sell stuff to in the future, right? All of these things, I might be sacrificing some profit up front, but I'm doing it because I'm building the business. Guys, this is a business. And I know some of you might be like, well, it's just a side hobby or a side hustle. Maybe, but in order to make it really work, you got to treat it like a business. Okay. I can't say it any other way. Okay. We have to think about it that way. So sometimes we're sacrificing in the very beginning, or even when we're trying to ramp things up, we might be sacrificing some profits. But then once we have everything kind of dialed in, it's going to be easier to launch products. It's going to be easier to get repeat customers, to get a cart value up higher because we have more products for them to buy. And we have an email list now through, our sales that we've already had. So you have to think about those things. And I think it's really, really important to make sure that you do that. All right. So I think that's a big takeaway. All right. For anyone listening right now. All right.
I would agree. I would agree with that completely. We had one other question there, Scott, sure, before we take that next step forward. And it was, how long does it take Etsy to like send those coupons out? Right. And it's basically, once it's set up, it's gone. Now there's a handful of reasons why somebody might not get that, One, if they've opted out of offers, which you can do.
Yep.
Two, I think there is a limit. I think it's once every 7 days is how often Etsy will send that customer. So if they got like a favorited item coupon or something else from you, they may not get that. And then if they get more than 6, so like if there's 6 sellers that have different things, or they favorited 6 items in your shop or whatever, then those are the limits. But other than that, basically, as soon as you set up those coupons to go out, they'll start going out. And then if you're doing to the previous customers, as soon as you finish setting up that promotion, it goes to everybody that qualifies, right? So with those limited exceptions removed, that's when it would go out. It would basically go out right away.
Yeah. Yeah, no. So, and I know some people say like, yeah, but not everybody gets them. Who cares? Right? Like, just get the sales, and the people that do get it, focus on those people. Focus on sales. Focus on the people that are buying your stuff. Make sure that they're super happy. Make sure that you bend over backwards for those people, because those reviews are going to get you more sales in the future, because other people will see them and go, oh, this company really does stand by their products. They like my wife is in her reviews, and she's had some reviews that were 1 star, like literally like a 1 star that shouldn't have been. And she's gotten those to a 5 star just by reaching out to the people and going like, man, I wish you would have let me know. And a lot of times it wasn't even her issue. It was more of an issue with the company that we're dealing with, the pod company. Right. And then once she would be real with the people, they'd be like, oh, I'm so sorry. I'll go. And she didn't even say to change it. She said, what could I do to deserve a 5-star review? Like I'm always striving to be the best, And so to be honest and authentic with people, they love that. Okay. And so when you are focusing on those are a conversion mechanism. And I think they're really, really important. So I would focus on just making sure that everyone is super, super happy. Okay. We good, Chris? We're going to move on.
Let's move on.
All right. So let's do it. So, all right. So let's move on now to like how to get sales. So it's like, Scott, okay, great. How do you get sales? Now there's 100 different ways that we can sit here and talk about, like all of the different ways to get sales. But there's 3 different things that I feel are really important, that if all I was to focus on were these 3, I still think we would probably be okay. Okay. On just these 3, these are like the core. Outside of these 3, there's other things that we're going to do, right? And there are things that we're doing, okay? But these are the 3. So the first thing is launching new products on a regular basis that are being searched for. That's the big one right there, right? We want to find products. And when you find products, what are we really doing? We're finding products that have keywords that are being searched for the product. Like Chris said earlier, Etsy is a search engine. But what's cool about Etsy's search engine is it's a search engine for buyers, right? So if we're in there doing a quick little search and we're trying to look for new product ideas, or we're maybe looking for a keyword that we want to go after, we're probably going to use the auto suggest first. That's the very first thing we're going to do. And we're going to see, what are they suggesting? What is Etsy's search engine? What is its data telling me? And then I'm going to go after that. But we're going to do that, and we're going to launch product after product after product. I mean, we've launched 30 products in 30 days. Right. And we're going to continue to blitz our niche with products. Okay. Because now, again, we're not thinking about, okay, what's the trend? What's the hot product? We're not doing that. We're like, what other products would our customers want to buy? Becomes so much easier. Okay. But we're finding products that have good search, but also good demand. Okay. And then from there, we're going to launch them. And by launching them, once our accounts start to become seasoned again, guess what happens? Number 2 is now we're going to start being found in search, right? And what do we need to do in order to have good search engine optimization? Well, the basics are this, okay? And again, like I shared an example with you guys, like there's sellers that don't have good SEO, but have a lot of sales and they're doing great, right? But we want to make sure that our framework for our SEO is dialed in. And the basics are this: title. We want a good title. That title, the very first part of the title, we want it to be our main keyword. Okay. The one that we discovered when we were doing our product research. The second thing is images. And this is a big one. I talked about this in a recent video that I did on YouTube. And that was, images, I think, are going to be a huge factor moving forward. Okay. And some people have talked about like images might have like Google does, like Google Images. Like if you tag it with a keyword, it could be searchable. Don't know that yet. I don't know if Etsy's that advanced. Maybe. I don't think so yet. But I do think that that image is a conversion mechanism. When there's more competition coming in and everyone's using the same mock-ups, the same ones that people are selling on Etsy or the people that are selling on Fiverr or any of that stuff, everyone's using the same one. You got to change that. Either take your own or have other mock-ups made that are just yours. So now you stand out and they're professional looking. So that's a huge conversion mechanism. And it's huge for SEO because that will help you convert to a sale. And then the third one is description. That one there, obviously we want to describe the product. Is this SEO? Like, does Etsy look at that? Yes, I believe they do, but not as much as the title. Okay. So I think the description just explains it. It gives them more information about it. So when their search engine bot is scraping the listing, it understands more about who it's for. And then tags, obviously, I don't think they have a lot to do with it, but I would still fill them in. And just that's the base, or the basis of it. Like that's the framework that we follow. And it works really well. But we're driving sales on that listing. And then what happens? Etsy now has us indexed. Etsy will then push us up because it says, hey, this product is being searched for. It has demand and these guys are getting sales. Let's push them to the top, right? So that's the second thing. And the third one in this little strategy, this 3-part strategy, is getting traffic by paying for it. Oh, I know. I can hear it right now. People are like, what do you mean, Scott? I don't want to, that's going to eat into my profits. You guys remember what I just said a little while ago, right? We might need to sacrifice some of those profits so we can drive sales. So it drives everything else that I just discussed or that I just talked about, that I just discussed. So running Etsy ads doesn't have to be a lot. In fourth quarter, we only spent $5 a day, $5 a day. And by the way, we did over 40K in Q4, right? I think November did over 22K, spending $5 a day. But in the beginning, when we were seasoning the account, I might have spent $10 a day because I wanted to get those products out there. I wanted to get that in front of people that are willing to buy or maybe willing to buy and to get sales through the door, to season the account, to get the reviews, right? To get the history. So I always tell people like, this isn't a sprint, it's a marathon. It's in anything. You've heard that probably 1,000 times. It's true in this case too. But when we are either just starting or we want to ramp it up, we want to get our sales velocity going, we want to get reviews, we want to build our email list, we want to do all those things, we got to spend a little bit of money, even if it's $2 a day. Something is better than nothing. But I do believe, I'm a strong believer in pushing the traffic and getting exposure as soon as possible. Okay. And when we compound everything on top of each other, you just build this momentum. And then over time, your products are ranking faster. You're getting more reviews. You're building your email list. You're selling more products. You're getting people that are repeat customers, all of that stuff, right? So there's the 3 things: launch new products on a regular basis that are in demand. 2, do basic good SEO stuff. And then 3, drive your own traffic using Etsy ads. The other thing is, and I don't know if I can't really prove this, but I have a hunch that if you use Etsy ads, you're spending money on their platform, they might give you a little bit of an extra nudge that says, hey, these guys are serious. They're spending money for us to push their products. Let's go ahead and give them a little lift in organic too. So I can't prove that. I've tested that on Pinterest. It definitely works on Pinterest. But that's something that a lot of people, they don't want to spend the money on that. I get it, guys. But listen, don't have that latte today. $5, Starbucks. Don't have it today. Spend it on Etsy ads. Do that for 30 days. Okay. Do that. All right, Chris, I see you. You might have something you want to add there.
So yeah, a couple things. You mentioned the magic boogeyman word, Etsy SEO. And so I know we're going to have a lot of questions about that, but Scott, I wanted to touch on the super secret, if you spend money thing, right? So like, even if you are wrong and there's not a secret cabal of people at Etsy that are like, yeah, this is a serious business because they're running ads, right? The side benefit of running the ads is that when Etsy is showing you, they're putting you in the best position, which means you are most likely to get the click, right? And if we look at SEO, the way that I like to think about SEO, and this goes back, Scott, to breaking down how a listing works, right? Is the very first thing we need is demand for a product, right? If there's demand for a product, are we using the right words? If we have a water bottle and we don't have water bottle in the title, then there's not a good chance, right? So if we're using the right words, Etsy is going to give us a chance sooner or later, right? When Etsy gives us that chance, whether it's organic or through ads, do people click on your stuff, right? That's the first signal to Etsy that there is something good on the back end of this. Remember, the goal of Etsy is to only ever show people the product that they are most likely to buy. Etsy has failed if someone clicks on a product in Etsy search and does not buy that product, right? And if we approach it from that mindset, if people are clicking on our stuff and not buying, then Etsy doesn't give us as much of a chance, right? So what do we do to fix that? We improve our images. We run more traffic. We get more reviews, and we play with the description to make sure that it's accurate. We don't need to worry. And somebody had said on YouTube, I think it was Woodcrafter said, is there like a secret to creating the perfect weight of titles and tags? If you're thinking in that mindset, you are going to lose. And I know that sounds really harsh, but the same thing happens on Google, right? If we are writing for the Etsy algorithm, the way that we think of it, if we're writing for the Etsy robot, if we're writing for the Google robot, we're doing this wrong. We have to think about this from a human perspective. The people who write the algorithms, they are human beings. The people who buy products on Etsy, believe it or not, despite the fact that you've never seen them, are human beings, right? There's a human being making that purchase. There's a human being receiving that. And if we think through that, in that process, rather than saying, what is the, do I have to say water bottle in the front? Can I say it in the back? Right? If we focus on the conversion side of that, which you and I keep coming back to, Scott, which is when somebody does click on the listing, do they buy? Right? That is going to give us the most juice for the squeeze of anything that we can do. Is there a scientifically best way? Maybe, but all that gets you is the chance. If we don't get the sale when Etsy gives us the chance, guess what happens? We don't get another chance, right? Or Etsy waits a little bit until I stop selling to show you again, right? To say, hey, Chris stopped selling. Maybe we should give that Scott guy another chance, right? So rather than focusing on making sure you have the perfect mix in your titles and tags, use common sense, use English, and yes, use a tool that helps you understand whether somebody's calling this a water bottle, a jug. Scott, what's the other word for this that I cannot think of? It's not a thermos. Tumbler? A tumbler, right? What is the search volume on giant tumbler with handle versus giant insulated water bottle with handle, right? And take the keyword that has the most search volume and make that your keyword. Etsy is getting smarter. Etsy's going to start to understand that all of those are the same thing. Google already does. Etsy is growing up as a search engine. So if we focus on the human factors, what happens when we get that chance? Do we get the click? If we get the click, do we get the sale? Right? Those are the things that we should be focused on from an SEO perspective. I didn't mean to totally derail you, but I knew we were going to get a bunch of questions about it. So
I mean, SEO is the big, the big talk, right? Like everyone thinks that is the secret sauce. That is the magic. It's really not, because the secret is going after a product that has demand and not going after the product that has demand that there's 50 to 100 different sellers doing the same exact thing. We actually did an emergency call where Debbie and I got on. Chris, I think you were on. Yeah, we were all on, and we were discussing like there's teachers out there, gurus in the Etsy world that are teaching going after something that's trending and copying it almost exact, and then just publishing it and showing it, and then there's 50 people there in a week. You're not going to make it. It's just not going to work. So our big thing is yes, SEO is important, but SEO is only important if you're going after products that are in fact being searched for. Now, does that mean that every product you have to do extensive research? No. Here's why. Once we are going after the niche, and once we know that there's products that these people are buying more than just one product, and all we're doing is we're just coming up with new designs or new products or new designs that we put on other products that we haven't yet launched, but no one else is selling that, we have an opportunity now. So what's it take me to take that same design and put it on a tumbler, a towel, a pillow, and a flag? Like how much work does that take me? Not much, right? So for me to do that, I don't need to make sure that the pillow is getting searched, because maybe I found out that the shirt is, but everybody's selling shirt, but I'm going to put it on something else that's unique, right? And even though the search might not be there, when people come in my shop, there, oh, that's nice. I love that. How many times you went into a store, you haven't seen something there, but it got your interest because you were going after something else that was similar. Same idea. So that's the cool thing about focusing on building a brand that is targeting a specific niche. So anyway, that's what I wanted to share with you guys on that. And again, I just want you guys to realize that moving into 2023, if you focus on sales, but again, you have to find products that have demand and all that stuff. You focus on sales, it's going to separate you from the herd. It really, truly is. Me and Debbie have talked about this privately. It's really, really frustrating for us to see how many people are being misled and really aren't going to have a chance to be successful. They're just not, because they're being led in a direction of everyone doing the same thing, everyone doing the same designs, everyone, finding the 5 different niches, and everybody just launching these shops that have multiple niches, that are t-shirts and that are mugs. I mean, I had someone the other day ask me, they're like, Scott, where can I find other companies that do other things other than t-shirts and mugs? And I'm like, Printify. It's the same one. You just haven't looked at the catalog, right? Like there's a ton of products. They're releasing new products all the time. So we just want to innovate. We don't want to take the easy route either. And I think that's another issue for people is they're trying to chase the easy way, the easy button, right? Little extra work means other people aren't doing it. I'm going to do that. And it becomes easier as you continue to do this. All right. So we are going to answer some questions. I did want to talk about the 7-day Cha-Ching challenge, which is going to be coming up here shortly. We're going to be doing that January 4th. Discounted tickets are expiring tonight. The price will be going to our regular price. If you are interested in getting a discounted ticket, go to the link that you see here, brandcreators.com/sales. If you're listening to this on the podcast, still go there because if we are, in fact, open, you will go ahead and be able to jump on the wait list that we have there, or you'll be able to get in on the next one. If we do a next one, we're still not sure, but go to that page if you're interested in joining us in the 7-day Cha-Ching challenge, or at least seeing the details about what we're doing there. So we're going to answer any questions on that. Guys, do me a favor too. If you've already signed up, if you guys are excited and signed up, go ahead and drop that in the comments down below too. I want to see how many of you are on that are super excited. I know we have over 85 Etsy shops right now that are going to be going through this training as of right now. And I know there'll be more as we get into that. But I'm super excited to share what we have planned for the 7-day Cha-Ching challenge. So Chris, let's get started on that. Again, any questions that you guys have on the 7-day Cha-Ching challenge, or any questions that came in, Chris, that we want to address, let's get into those. I do have some questions, some frequently asked questions that I've received about the challenge. When do you want to do those, Chris? Kind of cue it up for me.
Let's do those now, because I know we're going to get more as they come in. And Scott, I know we answered this one already, but I've seen it 3 or 4 times.
Okay.
What time does it kick off? Like, is it live? Can I do it on my own time? I think I've gotten 6 emails in the last 2 days about it. So let's answer that for people.
It's funny because that was the one that I had queued up to answer first. So is this live? And what if I can't make it live? Okay. So here's how it's going to work. We are creating action step lessons, 1 per day. Okay. Now they will probably range between 15 minutes and 30 minutes. Okay. And again, we are creating this as a brand new training. We are going to be putting out the lessons at 9 a.m. Eastern. Now, they're not live lessons where we're going to jump on together where you have to be there. Okay. You're going to be able to get access to those that day, that morning, that afternoon, or the next day, or a month from now. Because once you get into the class, you'll have access to these trainings after it's all said and done. The live component to it, and we're still trying to figure this out here, we're doing at least 1 live Q&A at the end, but we're also talking about doing some live Etsy shop reviews and feedback and audits and things like that as people have already went through it, so we can help them, but also people that want to share their shops with us and with the class, they will also get access to watch us do those. So that'll be the live component. So it's kind of like a hybrid. We're calling it like a hybrid where it's part live and part recorded. But every day there'll be a new action step that will build on the one that was previously done. Okay. And at the end of the 7 days, that's when we're all fired up. We're ready to go. And we're going to kick on the sales button. And we're going to go ahead and see if we can get that cha-ching sound to happen on the phone, on your cell phone. So that's basically the way it works. If you can't make it live, not a problem. It's going to be there in the training portal. We're going to have a training portal that you got access to, and you'll be able to access there that day, the next day, a month from now, and you'll be able to go through it at your, at your pace.
I'm sure this one is on your list too, Scott, but like, what do I need to come with? Right. So like, how do I prepare for class? Right. Do I need my backpack, my new notebook, like my Trapper Keeper? Right. What do I need to have in place before the challenge starts?
Yeah. No, that's perfect. Yeah, I did have that on my list. So this question I've gotten a lot. Is this only for established Etsy shops? And the answer is no. It is going to be very beneficial for those people, but it's also for anyone that has already started, but yet they're like, you know what? I kind of want to make sure that everything is optimized, everything is built out. So this way here, when I start feeding it sales, I'm going to have everything working to my advantage. So it's for those people. The other question I got was, well, what if I don't have my niche picked yet? So here's my answer. We would like you to have your niche selected. We would like you to have your shop name picked out and some products created, because that's going to allow us to be able to potentially get some sales at the end of this class. Okay. But with that being said, if you don't have your niche picked yet, I would encourage you to go through our Etsy Product Magic class, which if anybody wants access to that, just drop it in the comments and I can send you over the details. That is a class that we taught, you can get access to that, but that'll at least get you to where you're doing niche validation, you're doing product research in some cases where we're looking at demand and all of that stuff. So that's all there for you. But even if you don't have everything built, understanding that you can build this on the fly and then you can fill in your store later, that's also going to be beneficial for those people. So I would say it's best if you did have a store kind of set up and with some products in it. But if you don't, it's still going to probably be somewhat of looking and analyzing your current niche and seeing, okay, is this the right direction, or do I want to pivot a little bit and then use this new approach, this new strategy, and kind of building it out as we've done it here in the past. Hopefully that answered that, Chris.
Yeah, I think it does. And the other question that we'll get, and I know we've gotten it a few times here tonight, is like, is this designed for niche validation? And the answer to that is really no, right? Like the Etsy Product Magic class, which you guys can get, I believe, at brandcreators.com/magic, if that's what you're looking for, really will dive into the ins and outs of that. We did that as a workshop. And I believe that's around 3 hours of exactly how we choose our niches. And I think it was Warner, somebody else had asked, how do I know, I'm not sure that my niche is the right one. If that's something that you're struggling with, yes, we are obviously going to talk a little bit about niches, but it's not designed for that.
Right.
So if that's what you're looking for, the Etsy Product Magic class would be the one that you're looking for there. Somebody said, how do I get it, Scott? So if you go to brandcreators.com/sales, right, that's how you can sign up for the 7-day Cha-Ching challenge. Is there anything that would stop somebody? So you said, it's ideal that you come with these things. Is there anything that would stop somebody from signing up for this? Like, can they come back to this material later if they don't have it, or they go through this and a week from now, 2 weeks from now, they realize that they picked the wrong niche and they went through the challenge with a niche that's not a niche or something like that? Is there any reason that they can't join the class, or that they should wait to do that?
No, I look at this as like, and this is how we're treating it. It's like Debbie and I have really talked about like, what's going to make this the best for someone coming in, and how could they reuse this again in the future? And we have so many people that say, Scott, I want to open up my second shop or my third shop, and I want to be able to go through this material. So the cool thing is like, this is like the roadmap that I would give a family member if they were starting from scratch and they had their niche picked. They maybe had some design ideas, maybe some product stuff, but they were going to launch this. I would say, hey, go through the Etsy product magic first, get the niche validated, get your products, kind of designed and get them out there. And then from there, go through this training. And basically what this is doing is we're starting from scratch in a sense to where we're going to help build out the shop, okay, with all of the different pieces that we feel need to be there. And then from there, we're going to be building out the internal infrastructure, I should say, with all of the different components, internal marketing, external marketing, and really how to get those sales on a regular basis. So yes, this can be plugged in later, right? And done again. Or maybe you want to go back and go, oh, I skipped over this and I want to go back and I want to see how I can do my internal marketing again. I know Scott talked about this little hack on how you can take the internal marketing and kind of like disable it and then re-enable it. And you kind of get this other benefit, which is something that we're teaching. So like, maybe that's it. So yes, Chris, I think to me, it's the handbook that I'm going to give someone if they came to me and said, hey, how do I do this thing? What is everything I need to have in place? I'd be like, here it is right here. Go through it. When you're all done, let's have a look. Right. And that's the cool thing. I think that's the other thing that we want to do here is at the end of it, after someone has completed this, we want you to submit and people that are open to it to where we can look it over and show the class, hey, we like this. We think we would change this. I like that direction, maybe tweak this. And then that way that's something that could be a live kind of interaction component that you'd be able to learn from as well. So a lot of cool things we've got planned.
Yeah. And for the people asking, yes, you do get lifetime access to the challenge material. And that's kind of the reason that we built it this way. And that's why Scott just answered the question that the way he answered that question, right? Even if you're not set up perfectly, but this is something you want to do, I would jump in now, right? Like rather, because like you said, Scott, the price is going up at midnight. And again, you're more than welcome to join whenever, right? As long as we are offering it. We don't know if we will be offering it ongoing or anything like that after the 4th. But if you're on the fence about it, my suggestion would be jump in because you are going to have access to it after the fact, right? Scott, are we going to be talking about like personalization, listing creation, any of those kinds of things inside of this course? Or is this all about sales?
It's a lot about sales. We will most likely bring up and discuss listings because listings are really important. So, and what I mean by that is a lot of people want to know, and I've had several requests for this, is like, what's the template for SEO, right? Like for the listing, like what is it? So what we decided to do is create a framework that people can follow, more or less like a plug and play. So we're going to go through that. That's one of the lessons, the action step lessons that we're going to be going through, because we feel like if you don't have that stuff like tweaked and optimized, you're not going to get the most bang for your buck when you do get that sale, right? So when you get that sale, if everything is optimized, now you're also indexed for several other keywords and searches and all of that stuff. So we want to make sure that sale gives us the most bang for our buck. So yes, we will be getting into listing SEO and creation, but we will not be going through like, okay, what makes the best product and things like that. Now, will we discuss a little bit of that on a Q&A? Probably, but that is not going to be the focus. If you go through the Etsy Product Magic class, we do go through that, and we have an additional upgrade on that training, which is our 30-day product blitz. So again, if you're interested in that, you can go to brandcreators.com/magic, and you can get all the details there for that. But this is all about like getting everything optimized and everything dialed in so we can get sales on a regular basis. And when we do get those sales, we're going to get the most bang for our buck.
And just to go back to the personalization thing really fast, it's not nearly as complex as everyone makes it out to be, right? Like it's literally as simple as creating your Canva design with a place for personalization. That's pretty much the only thing that's different between that and a standard listing. There's what, Scott, an extra 3 minutes worth of work when you go to fulfill the order because you have to go into Canva, change the name or the date or whatever it is that you're personalizing. Right. And then submit that to the print on demand person. whatever manufacturer you're using for that. But it's literally essentially just changing the name and downloading the Canva template. There's not like a super special secret way of doing the setup. It's a product like most other Etsy products, except you say that it has the personalization option, and then you spend 2 minutes in Canva, right? So if you are looking for like the step-by-step stuff, I believe there is a little bit of that inside the 30-day product blitz and the Etsy product magic.
Yep.
But in terms of creating the listing itself, it's going to be the same as creating the listing for any other product, with the exception of you click the personalization button, right? Like it gives you that extra field on the front end, and that's pretty much the only difference.
Yeah. And Chris, let me just say this too. Like, so the way that I like to learn is I'm very visual, and I like to see examples. So we're going to have like a action step lesson, right? So that'll be like, I want to say short, but to the point, no fluff. Like I know myself, I don't want to sit around and listen to like the theory and then see the action steps, right? Like I want to like, let's get into it. Tell me what I got to do. Go off and do it. I'll see you tomorrow, right? That's how we're going to be doing this. Although I also like to see examples, and Debbie and I will be hopping on as some additional trainings that will supplement that lesson. So if we're talking about optimizing the shop, I'm going to pull up 5 or 6 different shops that I feel are doing a good job with optimization. And I'm going to go through them. Debbie and I are going to go through them, and we're going to discuss why these are good. So you can see what makes a good listing or a good shop, right? A good banner. Because people don't realize, but your banner is really important in your shop, more important than people, make it out to be, which it's really important. So there's like, I'm going to show examples. I've already got a whole bunch that I'm going to share because I've already kind of did my homework, and I went through and got some of these together. But we're going to be showing that stuff. And that's what I think really is going to make this kind of all come together, is being able to be visual and seeing this stuff. And again, listings will be the same thing. If we see a listing that's really done well, we're going to go over that. We're going to review that.
Scott, did you have any other quick questions about the Cha-Ching challenge itself that you wanted to cover before we dive into some of the generic Etsy stuff, and then let people get back to their Friday nights?
Yeah. Okay. So number one was, how long is the class? It's 7 days. Okay. So there's 7 days. There's going to be a lesson each and every day. With that being said, we will also have some additional Q&A sessions, which leads me to the next question, which is, can we ask questions during and after the class ends? Yes, kinda. Here's what I mean. We are going to be obviously listening to any questions that are coming in. If you have questions, you're going to submit them. And then what we're going to do is we're going to do a live Q&A, which will be recorded. So any question, if you are going through this, if you are a student of this class and you have a question you want us to directly answer, all you need to do is follow the instructions that we're going to give you to submit that question. Okay. And then we're going to answer it. So it's guaranteed that we're going to answer your questions. The other thing is if you want us to review something on a live call, we will also do that. But here's the deal. After we're all done, a month and a half from now, we're not going to have this extended support. Now, we may run this class again. Now, anybody that would want to come in later would have to obviously buy a new ticket to the new event, but they always have access to the older event because that's the live component to it. So we are going to be giving interactive support through and a little bit after. Okay. I would say up to a week after, because we want you guys to get the action steps done. We want you guys to get that, all of your homework done, everything kind of implemented. And then if we have any questions, we're going to go ahead and address those. And then we'll also do some shop reviews as well. So that was really all extra that I had, Chris. I think, how much time per day do I need to allow this to do the action steps? Like I said, the lessons, I'm going to try to keep them to 15 to no more than 20, 25 minutes, if I can help it. And I would say if you allow an hour per day, you're probably good. And I think that's it.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. I mean, it would be a little weird if it takes longer to implement the action step than it does to explain the action step.
Right.
Because you are showing them how to do it and explaining it, which usually takes longer than just doing it.
Yeah.
So if we're saying, 15 to 20, 30 minutes, I would say budgeting an hour a day is probably more than what you will need for that. And the other thing is, right, we are going into this, we have the 7 days of the challenge side of this planned out, right? But then we will be doing that live Q&A. And Scott, one thing, and I know you've said it, but I want to just kind of hit it over the head again, right? Any questions that come up along the way, you are going to have the ability to do that. We do have the Q&A portion built into the back end, specifically because we know we can't cover everything, right? We know what we know. We know what we think you should know, but we don't know exactly what you know. Does that make sense? There's a lot of I know, you know, we know, but we don't know everything that you know, how you're coming into this. And so if there's something that we miss because you're coming into this with a different set of knowledge, or you're saying, hey, what about this? We might miss that in the initial challenge, and we're going to cover that in that Q&A section at the end. So the one thing I do want to say is there's no such thing as a stupid question, right? If you are in the Cha-Ching challenge and you have a question, I don't care if it's day 1 and you're saying, hey, you guys might cover this later, but, right? I love those questions, because if we're covering it later, then I can just say, yeah, we're covering it later. And if we're not, then we can make sure that we address that, because if you have that question, I guarantee you someone else has that question as well. So if you're going through this, any questions you have along the way, make sure to ask us. And like you said, Scott, inside of the Learning Center, we're going to give everybody the ability to do that so that we come armed to that Q&A session, hopefully with a giant list of questions that we can answer for people and make that as valuable as possible for everyone.
Yep. Yeah. And I just want to also say that, you know, this is the first time we're teaching this class, right? And we don't know, we may teach it again in the future. We're going to see how it goes. We're going to see how people enjoy it, how people like it. But it's also, like I said, it's our first time teaching it this way. We're probably going to do more live classes this coming year. So this is just one that we're doing, but we may do it again, right? Because we like that live, but yet also recorded, where we can kind of give that, you know, that interactive feel, but also allow people to come in at their own pace. So again, we are going to be doing it this time this way. Next time, it might be a little bit different, because we're going to learn ourselves. What do the students want? How many Q&A sessions should we give? How many reviews should we do for people? Like all of those things. But this first class going through it, you're going to probably get a little extra, because we're going to be learning this ourselves on the fly on how we want to teach it and what is needed by the student, you. So just know that this first class, it's going to probably give a little bit more than we will in the future as far as interactivity, because we want to make sure that we get all those questions answered, but we also want to get that feedback from you guys so we can make the next one even better. All right. So what else you got?
We got a bunch, and I don't know how much time you have, but I'm thinking we go rapid fire through some of these,
sure.
And then anything else that pops in while we're here, we will make sure to address for people. So somebody just said, when will you have another one? We do not know. And they said, you know, next week's schedule might not work for me. So here's the deal. These lessons are not live, right? They're going live in the morning, theoretically, right? As long as technology does what technology is supposed to do around 9 a.m. Eastern time. The live component of this will be the Q&A sessions, right? Mm-hmm. And so if you can't make it 9 a.m. every day next week, we don't actually expect you to, because we have people in South Africa that are hanging out with us right now, and it's now 2:00 Saturday morning there, right?
Or Australia.
Like,
yeah.
Right. And somebody said, hey, it's like 10 a.m. here, right? Yeah. Like I can finally come join you guys live. Right. So there's going to be people all over the world. So you can do this on your own time. And that's something I think that I really wanted to hit on the head, Scott, before we jump into this other stuff, because we did say it's an hour, but you can split that hour up however you need to make that work, right? You can watch the lesson in the morning and do the implementation at night. You can watch the lesson at night and do the implementation the next morning. You can watch the lesson on your lunch break and do the implementation after dinner. It doesn't really matter, right? You can mix and match to make this work for you based on your schedule. Because we don't know when we're going to do it again, or if we're going to do it again, right? If nobody wants us to do it again, we wouldn't do it again. Right. I doubt that's going to be the case just based on the feedback we've gotten so far, but we'll see, right? I would jump in. Like if you're on the fence about this, I would jump in, because you are going to have that evergreen lifetime access to the material. So even if you don't have your niche picked, like even if you don't have everything buttoned up and all your ducks in a row right now, I would jump in if it's something that you're on the fence about. And then when you are ready to implement it, right? 2 weeks from now, 3 weeks from now, when you're ready to implement it, you can still do that. Do you miss out on the live Q&A side of that? Yes, but chances are somebody else is going to have the question that you have, and you are smart enough to know what you want out of the course, and so you can take 3 minutes to log in, look at how to submit the Q&A, and then just ask us all of those questions. If it's stuff that we cover in the course, then it's already covered in the course. If it's not, and it's something that's relevant to the course, guess what? Then when you're ready to jump in, it'll be in the Q&A section for you already, which is the reason that we do it this way, because we want you to have those resources forever. Before I jump in, would you suggest having the shop open with a banner, logo, FAQ, about, and listing or two all done before the challenge starts? We are going to be covering a lot of that stuff in the challenge. So as long as you have your niche picked and you have a couple product ideas, that's probably enough. Scott, do you agree on that?
Yeah, I mean, there's some people that are going to have that all filled out, right? They're going to have everything kind of set up, and then we're going to kind of go in and remodel a little bit, right? Like that's kind of what we're going to do. But if you don't, and you're like, oh, I want to get ahead, you can just so you can make sure that, you kind of like built, the place, but that you're probably going to remodel some areas, right? Because we do have a certain thing that we're going to be covering with all of those different areas that you brought up. That are super important. And we'll show examples of that too. And that's why building that foundation the first day is really, really important. But yeah, if you have that all done, it'll save you the time of having to go up and set everything up, but you will probably be changing most of that out or some of that out, just to be clear.
Is there going to be a day on product design and ideas? No, that's the goal for this is really to get you the sales foundation, right? If you're after the product design stuff, my suggestion would be do Etsy Products Magic and get the 30-day product blitz. That's going to give you more product design inspiration than anything else that anybody could teach you, right? Like literally inside of the product blitz, Debbie shows, what does she call it? It's like the 95% done hack that she uses, right? Where she's like, hey, this works. Let me swap out this, this, and this, and then I'm done. That's like, for somebody like me who is graphically challenged, right? That's the level of walkthrough that I need. And for us to be able to do that in like 15 minutes in one of these lessons isn't going to get you to sales, right? And that's the goal of this, is to take you from 0 to Cha-Ching, or in the case of Warner, 47, hopefully 48 by the time we get off Cha-Chings, just over the course of those 7 days. I didn't start with a niche store. Do I need to get rid of the listings that I have that aren't related to my niche? So Scott, outside of the challenge stuff, right? Just general Etsy advice.
Yeah.
If we started with that product focused approach, or the, what is it, Debbie call it, the trippy garage sale approach, right? The everything to everybody approach. And we're now moving to the niche focused approach, which is what you, Debbie, and I talk about.
Yep.
Do we have to delete all of the stuff that's not niche focused? Should I start a new store? Like, what is your suggestion for how to go from the product focus to the niche focus?
Well, if those products in fact are getting sales, then you may just want to keep that running and open up a new shop, right? That would be my suggestion for that. If they're not really getting sales, like if you're like, yeah, I've got all these products in here, which we actually just did a Etsy shop review, an audit. And that was the case where we basically just said, listen, we're going to probably archive 75, 80% of these, right? Because what happened was, and this is very typical, where they're like, okay, I want to go after this niche, but they weren't really seeing the results. So they said, well, I'm going to start going after these other little niches. They aren't really related, but I want to go after anything that's selling, and then started to fill this out with a whole bunch of different niches, which, we all know that we don't really agree with. And we ended up finding out that the reason why her first attempt wasn't working wasn't because of the niche. It was because of the optimization and because of the images and because of those different things, right? So then we told her we're going to archive the other and then start focusing on the main niche again, and then kind of go from there. So would I keep everything up and running if you're not getting sales? No, I'd probably archive it and just pivot that. But if you are getting some sales and you're like, yeah, make it a couple $100 a month on this, I might just want to keep it, then keep it. Totally up to you.
I think there's two situations that we typically see. One is you have a handful of things that are getting sales across a variety of niches, in which case I think, Scott, that advice is spot on. Just let that ride until it's done. It takes all of 5 minutes to set up a new Etsy store that is niche focused, right? Yep. All you have to do is create a new email address if you don't already have one, and then set up a new Etsy store, right? It's literally that simple. If that's the case, then do that. If you're going through your garage sale approach and you're saying, hey, everything I have related to fishing is selling and none of the other stuff is, or like one or two of the other things is, then that's when I would go the archive approach, I think, right? Because we want to keep that momentum. And again, I feel like the only word we've said tonight is sales. And I know we've said a lot of other things, but sales is the key, right? And if we are getting sales and we have that momentum, we don't want to do anything to stop that momentum. If it's focused around a niche, then yes, let's cut the dead weight, right? Archive the products about bird watching or whatever, and keep the fishing stuff because that's what's selling. And then moving forward, we are now a fishing store, right? We don't have to worry about that. So just think about which situation you're in and take the advice accordingly. With that in mind, Scott, what is the minimum number of listings that you recommend for the shop to be successful? I could say sarcastically 1, right? Because it all starts with 1. But to me, and I'm curious what your opinion on this is, but to me, the answer here would depend on the goal and on the volume, right? If you're trying to make $500 a month, the number of listings that you would need to have to get that is substantially different than if you're trying to make $5,000 or $50,000 a month, right? And I know, Scott, we did, you actually, I think it was Tuesday, your Tuesday video, you were talking about how the store that you and your wife had did just over $64,000 this year. And the goal for 2023, yes, 2023 is what's happening in just a few hours, is to more than double that. To think that we are going to get there with the same number of listings is probably a pretty silly proposition, right? Because if we got to 64,000 with the number that we have, yes, we're going to get some additional sales there, but that's probably not going to carry us the whole way. So to me, it would depend on the goal of what you're trying to do and then what your average margins are and what your average daily sales are. Is there a general rule of thumb that you have for that? Or is there another answer that you would give to that question?
Well, the answer is this, like you want to build out your product line with as many products as you possibly can. So in the very beginning, we want to be very aggressive with that. That's why we created what we call our 30-day product blitz, because we want 30 products up as soon as possible. You have to think about it this way. The more products we have up that are for our target niche, we have that many more opportunities, that many more pieces of real estate on Etsy that could bring people over to our store. Our buddy Werner just said in the chat, Cha-Ching number 44, and it's a repeat buyer. So here's the deal, guys. Repeat buyer. Let that sink in for a minute. Repeat buyer. How does someone become a repeat buyer? Either you have something they want to buy another one of, or you have other things that person would want to buy, right? So that's what we want. We want someone to come back to our shop, okay? So the answer is you want as many as you possibly can come up with, right? It costs you whatever the time it is for the design work and the little bit of time to create the listing once you have it templatized and all of that stuff. Then it's just a matter of your time and 20 cents to list something for 3 months. So that's it. You only you only pay when you make a sale. Okay. After that for 20 cents. So for us, we are, and Debbie will tell you this, and inside of the 7-day Cha-Ching challenge, there's actually one area in there where Debbie talks about like what she would want you to start shooting for as you're building out this shop and you're getting your momentum. All right. And I would say a minimum, I would want 30 products. Now you might say, well, 30 products, that's 30 designs. No, it could be one design with 5 products or 10 products, depending on what the niche is. So more is definitely better, in my opinion.
More is always better when it comes to sales, right? And if your goal is just to make a little bit of side hustle income, right? Maybe you don't need 3,000 products, right? But if your goal is to make $500,000 a year, then yeah, you're going to need more SKUs to be able to do that, right? It's all about lines in the water and repeat buyers. And I think I gave Werner a little bit of future projection a few minutes ago. I said 47 going for 48. He was 43 going for 44. But he says, can you keep this live going for the next few hours? It seems like you guys are my good luck, Werner. That's just you actually implementing and doing what the shirt says, even though it's backwards on the camera, right? Take action. And that's what we're all about, right? If you are doing this, it doesn't matter if you're starting with one product and that's all that you have up right now, or if you are taking the approach that we advocate, which is get as many products as you can design that are good quality products, right? Never create a design or launch a product just to create a design or launch a product, right? Think about it. Is it something somebody in your niche would buy? And if so, then yes, create it, right? And Are there going to be some things? And Scott, I know you did a video, I think it was last week, on 7 print-on-demand products that you would take a look at that are kind of underserved in the market, including the word I couldn't think of earlier, tumblers, right? Because everybody talks about mugs and very few people talk about tumblers, right? So, okay, serves a similar market, right? If our niche would potentially carry a tumbler, is that something that we should have? Well, yeah, because it doesn't really matter what you're interested in or what you identify as. Right. There's a good chance that if you're really into that thing, you'd be cool with us selling you a mug or a tumbler or whatever with that on, with a saying or an image that represents that on it. You're going to go ahead and do that. So yeah, we're going to add that. Can we put a puzzle in every niche? No, but most of them you can. And so, when we're scrolling through our print on demand provider, whoever we're using, when we're scrolling through their product catalog, we need to just be thinking more about, is this something that I could come up with a design that would interest my market versus how many of these do I need to have in order to hit X dollars? The other thing with that, Scott, before we move on, is you never know what's going to work and what's not. Even if you do all of the research, you never really know how many units of a product you're going to sell, right? What the exact margin is going to be. You don't really know those things until you start to sell it, right? You have a good idea of what it could be because you have a good idea of what competitors are doing. You know what your audience is generally doing once you're up and established, but you don't necessarily know exactly what's going to work and what's not. And that's why we are advocates of testing it, right? There's nothing better than Etsy as a testing platform because it costs you a little bit of time and 20 cents. And once you find a design that works, you can put that on a whole bunch of products. And guess what? It costs you 20 cents in like 5 minutes in a lot of cases to be able to do that versus 20 cents and 10 hours or whatever, right? And so if we can focus on the product serving the market, right? Is this a product somebody in my niche would potentially use? That's the approach that I would go for.
Yeah, no, I like it. What else we got?
We had one other one that just escapes me here. Got to see if I can find it really fast. And while we're waiting on that, Scott, is there anything that you would recommend people do in terms of education, right? Is there anything you would have them look at before they come into the class to have just a better understanding of what's going to be in it, what the approach is that we advocate for?
Yeah, I mean, again, if you guys are watching this or listening to this on YouTube, on my YouTube channel, there's the first video that I published when I started to share what we were doing. And that was the video where I challenged myself to help my wife hit 100K in Etsy sales in the next 12 months. Since I recorded that video, we had done over 40, I think it was 44,000. And that was just from 3 months, not even, 3 months? No, 2.5 months. And 22 of that was in November alone. I think we hit 18.5 in December. So yeah. So that video is probably a good one to get the understanding, if you don't already know, like our approach and kind of like what we're doing and how we're doing it. But if you go through even on the playlist that I have there, which is your Etsy selling tips, there's a bunch of videos there that will walk through different areas of our strategies and kind of like what we're doing. And also examples of some of the case studies that we've done with like the 30-day product blitz and some of the numbers that we were able to receive. So I would say, yeah, definitely go there and go through some of that training, depending on where you're at. That will be very, very helpful, I feel. Let me also just say this too, Chris, because there are still a lot of people, even though they have their niche picked, they don't know how to sub niche. They don't know how to drill it down. Debbie and I talked about possibly doing a bonus call that was all about niche validation. And also the way that we would do this, again, thinking out loud here and spitballing a little bit, because this is kind of how this works with this live environment of this class, is where we would have people submit theirs that wanted us to kind of do a niche validation session for them for some sub niches. So that's something else that I know a lot of people want to know more about. So we're thinking about adding that as a bonus, if you will. So again, that's why this class is a little bit unique, because there's some things that we're thinking about doing that we're not necessarily sure we're going to do in the future ones, but it's something that I think we're going to do in this one, because I think a lot of people they struggle with that sub niching down. If we can tap into some sub niches for you, then we open up the market even wider. And that's what we're doing right now inside my wife's shop, is we're broadening it out a little bit. And that's how we're going to hit those numbers that I'm shooting for.
So Scott, what you're talking about there, to clarify, so let's say we have a fishing, like a fisherman store on Etsy, right? We're selling.
Yep.
So you would be specifically talking about going after a sub niche. There would be, and again, guys, this is just an example that we've used a lot, right? Like kayak bass fishing, deep sea fishing, underwater basket fishing, right? Like ice fishing, right? Those would all be sub niches. And what you're talking about is taking a look at somebody's shop and not necessarily validating the overarching niche, but saying, hey, within this niche, what we're seeing is that, like they're buying generic fishing stuff, but also ice fishermen really love their swag and their Sherpa blankets. Why? Because it's really cold when you go ice fishing. So if you can have a Sherpa blanket with you, it's warmer. And if it's got a fish on it or a fisherman ice fishing, that's even better because they're going to buy it. Right. So is that kind of what you're talking about?
Yeah. Is going down that road. And I like where you went there, but it also is, like, let's say that you were targeting, like fishermen, but yet your shop wasn't called fishermen. It was more outdoorsy. Then we can even go after other, sports and outdoors stuff. Right. So it depends on what the shape of the store already looks like, or the niche. We can kind of play with that and see where we can broaden that out. And I think that's always good to do in a live environment with a real example. And I think that it'll be a win-win for everyone. The person that is submitting that wants us to do it will get that. And then we will also be able to show people what we're advising and what we're doing and what we're seeing, to hopefully educate them for themselves to be able to do that within their own niche. So yeah, that's something else additional I think we're going to add. And Warner just says that bonus would be a huge bonus. Yeah, I think so. I think that would be, and I love doing that, by the way. So it's fun for us. And that's one thing I said, Chris, too, when I was writing emails about this whole thing and talking about it, about doing the 7-day Cha-Ching challenge, and what we're trying to do in 2023. Number one, focusing on Etsy, right? That's what we're doing. We're helping my wife's shop. We're playing there. That's kind of like our playground. And then we're teaching it, right? And the bottom line is we're also having fun. This has to be fun for everyone. So you're going to notice that, like, if you're going through any of our trainings, we're going to have fun, right? We're going to have fun doing it, and you should have fun doing it. So I just think that when you're doing anything, and that's why we do talk about that when you're picking your niche, is like, if you can find something that you're interested in, it's just going to make it so much better for you and so much more enjoyable. So we take that same advice to heart, and that's really what we're doing. So like doing these, like doing a niche validation session, we love it. Like, it's fun for us. So we'll be more than happy to do that.
Yeah. And I think niche validation, especially the sub niche side of stuff. And the other word you guys will hear us throw around is shoulder niche, right? Like a niche right next to another niche, which would be like sports and outdoors, right? The and there is the shoulder, right? Fishing and whatever, hiking and camping, right? Like those are all examples of shoulder niches. And I think that's where a lot of people get lost, Scott, with the niche-based approach, is they're very worried about losing out on customers, because if they don't sell everything to everybody, then they're only selling to this small thing. Well, no, you're just starting there, right? And we can always go up or down from that position to make sure that we are not running out of ideas, right? That we can continue to grow sales, that we can do all of those kinds of things. You actually expand your opportunities by narrowing your focus. And I know that sounds counterintuitive, but when you're spending all day looking for the next mug slogan that's going to sell you 5 mugs this week, you lose that creative energy a lot faster than being able to say, okay, who is the one person that I need to think about, and what is the thing that they would be interested in? Yes. You don't have to be as creative, if that makes sense. And product ideas come kind of fast and furious when you're in that mindset. And eventually, yes, you're going to run out of ideas for ice fishermen or whatever. But then you can look up and say, okay, what's the next thing up? Okay, it's fishermen or bass fishermen or pike fishermen or underwater basket weaving fishermen, right? Like whatever the next thing is. And then we can start to slide over to a different shoulder, or we can niche up or niche down. If we find that there's a deep freeze ice fisherman group inside of the ice fishermen, we can create stuff just for the people who really, really, really like to be on the ice, right? Whatever that is. And I think that is something that a lot of people miss out on. I had 2 other rapid fire questions. And then if you have anything else,
okay.
obviously feel free. The first one is, should your shop focus only on one niche? The answer is broadly yes, right? Mm-hmm. Obviously, we just had that whole discussion about shoulder niches, sub niches, niching up, niching down. But if your focus is on one person, right, or one group of people, then your job becomes a lot easier. Your average cart value will increase. Your return customers like Warner, they will increase because they know if they come to Scott's awesome Etsy store that they're going to get stuff designed for them, right? They're not going to see, and I'm just looking around the room, pineapples, bananas, and Santa figurines. They're going to only find Santa figurines because it's Scott's Christmas Wonderland Etsy store, whatever, right? They know what they're going to get when they come. And so instead of them going to the Etsy search, they're going to favorite you. They're going to get all your notifications, or they'll just literally type your store name into Etsy and then click that little button at the top of the Etsy search that said, did you mean to search for the store? Right. And you go there and then they get taken to your homepage, right? I don't have like any stores saved on Etsy, but I do that all the time. That's literally the process that I go through. And I know other people do it as well. And when you have that approach, your life becomes a lot easier. Rather than trying to sell pineapples, bananas, and Santas, let's just sell pineapples, bananas, or Santas, right? Obviously, none of those are really niches, but you guys get the idea. The other one would be, Scott, somebody had asked, because we had all the questions about coupon codes and stuff. Do coupon codes stack on Etsy? And the answer is kinda. Etsy will do a pretty good job of sorting this out. And what Etsy will essentially do is make sure that even if, say, somebody gets an abandoned cart email, right, from them, and they have previously favorited your shop and they buy something from you and they get the 3 different promo codes, they will do the best job of giving the person whatever the best deal is. So if they type in all 3, Etsy basically sorts that out. They won't stack 10% with 15% with 20%. They'll say, okay, 20% is the best deal, so that's what they get. Or 20% plus free shipping if that wasn't otherwise in your store. So that's not really a big concern. If you do run into that weird situation, which is a good situation to be in, right? Where somebody has favorited your shop, abandoned a cart, and bought from you in the past, that's my favorite person. In fact, I wouldn't even care if it's stacked. They can buy all of the things from me, and that doesn't bother me, right? We're just going to build that into our margins. But the good news is Etsy does a great job of saying, okay, 20% is more than 10, right? So we're going to give them the 20% off, even if they type in all of those different combinations of things.
Yeah, you're only going to see one area for the coupon code anyway. So it's like, once it's applied, and it'll be like Chris said, the best offer for them. So yeah, I wouldn't worry about that.
Yeah. And I think that was it in terms of the Q&A.
All right, cool. All right. Yeah. So just really quick though, guys, I'm going to recap here. What we're going to cover in the 7-day Cha-Ching challenge is really, number 1, the Etsy shop build and the optimization. The second thing is Etsy internal sales triggers. Again, like I talked earlier, why it's so important to get those sales, because it's going to trigger more sales. Okay. Third is customer email setup. So how to capture those emails and really how to get those people to say yes, they want you to send them emails. The fourth is product listing SEO, the optimization side of things. We're going to do that. Etsy ad strategy. We're going to go through that. Social media push, both organic and paid. We're going to share that. And then the sales kickoff, and that'll be day 7. And that one there is where the rubber will meet the road. And that's when everything that we've done up to that point is really going to allow sales to come in and then trigger everything else that can happen on the inside. All right. And that's really what we're going to be covering. We're also going to be doing the live Q&A. Like I said, we'll do some live reviews, and we'll probably, now that we've gotten some feedback, we'll probably do a niche validation session or 2. So this way here, we can kind of take people through what that looks like to look at their niche and then broaden it out a little bit, because it might be a little narrow. How do we create these shoulder niches, or how do we go after these sub niches? And that will be added in there as well. So if you guys are listening to this, if you're interested in joining us January 4th, 2023, crazy to say that, you can head on over to brandcreators.com/sales. And depending on when you're listening to this or watching this, if you're watching this when it's live or an hour or 2 after it's live, there's still a discount on those tickets. After that, they will go to the regular price as what they're going to be right now. If we open this back up again after the 4th, the price may increase. And that is, again, if we decide to do this live hybrid training again. So if you're interested, join us, brandcreators.com/sales. And then just the last thing I want to leave you guys with We started this long conversation. We're at about an hour and a half right now. We started with the Etsy sales growth talk for 2023. And I wanted you guys, if you guys are coming in late, go back and watch the beginning because I laid it out for you, but I'll do a quick little recap here. I want you to write this on the top of that piece of paper. That's going to be your vision and your focus for 2023. And that is getting sales. That is it. All right. And getting sales is going to allow you to have better SEO results, getting ranked easier, faster, building customer email lists for repeat sales, getting your coupons sent out to buyers and internally sending those automatically. It's a trigger. From there, getting more reviews, which is going to increase your conversions. And then number 5, creating a seasoned Etsy shop over time, getting a star seller badge, status, and quality score, which is going to then compound on itself for more sales when you launch more products, which leads me into the 3-step strategy for 2023. Looks like this. 1, launch new products on a regular basis that are being searched for, that have good search demand and good search volume. 2, good SEO practices, title, images, description, tags, the basic stuff. Make sure that's in place because when we feed it sales, we want it to get indexed and we want it to get the most bang for the buck. 3, run Etsy ads, even if it's at a small budget, because this will show Etsy that we're serious and we're willing to put money into our business, which I think they will help us organically, but then also it will give us more visibility, which will then give us more sales, which will trigger everything else that we just talked about. All right. So the main focus, getting sales. All right. That is it. That is the vision. Head down, get sales, optimize your shop, optimize everything internally. And if you want help with that, we are going to be taking a group of students through this, our plan, our strategy, what we would do if we were starting from scratch on building out a shop and optimizing everything. We're going to be doing that on January 4th. And that is going to be less than a week. If you guys are interested, go to brandcreators.com/sales and you can grab a ticket there. Chris, anything else before we officially wrap this baby up?
I think that's it for tonight. If we don't see you guys before then, Happy New Year. Happy 2023. And we'll see you next year.
Yeah, no, awesome, guys. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. This has been awesome. If you have any additional questions or if you're watching this on the replay, you can always drop them in the comments. And then also do me another quick favor. If you're watching this on YouTube, smash the like button, leave a comment. We'd love to see what you thought. And if you guys have any questions, let us know in the comments. And for all of you that will be joining us, thank you so much. And we will see you guys on January 4th. And we'll be seeing you on those live trainings. I can't wait to be with you guys and to really kick off 2023 with a bang. So guys, take care, take action, have an awesome, amazing day. Happy New Year. And we'll see you soon. Take care, guys.